the item Jetpack. Let's go to the plus with our tile set default and go down to the Jetpack option here. So item Jetpack. This uses just the basic ones. You could do a lot more inside a Jetpack, but we're just going to do a off state, a use state, and then the idle. All right. And for the Jetpack, if you click on it, and then in the tile type, let's go down to our item Jetpack. And let's go ahead and go through the description. We'll say item Jetpack. And description, we'll just say it's a Jetpack. General, we'll turn off the receive light. We'll say it's just going to be visible in game. The image offset, by default, we'll go ahead and say it's in, actually we'll say it's behind the player here. And if we had animations, just depends on the animation set that you're working up. So it's going to be using the thumbnail for the thumbnail image. Colliders will turn off. If you go down to the tile animations, we're not going to use those for this one. For the trigger settings though, so we can pick it up, we'll say enable on this. And then you can go down on the options again. If the item was smaller, so like for instance, it's a really small item this way. If you wanted to, you could actually say that the trigger scale on the top, you could take it down to 0, just so that if the player was jumping over it, visually they're only seeing this guy right here, so they may not want to actually hit it up in this state right here. So just depends on the image itself in terms of where you place the trigger size for it. Alright, so we'll keep on going down, and we'll get to our item state here. So the item we're going to enable here, we're going to say it's usable, it automatically adds to the equipment and makes it usable for the player. At the very bottom, let's just make sure we're going to say separative holder. Okay, item animations at this point. There is a pickup item and using it. So you see all the states for these. This is kind of the part where some of them change their usefulness in terms of like there's pickup item here, but also in the Jetpack. Jetpack's a little bit different. It has a Jetpack state for animations on this one. So we're going to say that on the, and we're going to go ahead and go down to here, we're going to say that the Jetpack animations, there's different states where, for instance, if you notice there's a start thrust, and then after the start there is a medium thrust, and then there is a full thrust. So you can have it where when the player is pushing the button to start flying, it may be something on the start where there's a whole bunch of smoke coming out, and then there's a flame, and then once they get up to a faster speed, the flame changes to a different type of flame. So you've got a lot of different animations you can actually assign to the Jetpack, and this is going to be the on state. Now there's an off state. The off state is going to have the same elements, but what this is doing is saying that when you let go of the thrusting, so if you're pushing the button to fly and you let go of it, this is turning it to the off state. So it's going to be going from the start. So this would be the in state, start, medium, and full thrust here. Alright, so both states are just simply turning it on and off. What we're going to do on this one though is that we're going to say that the Jetpack on animations, if you notice, we'll only have the two sets. We have using it, and then we have it off. So I'm just going to say that when it starts up, it's going to be the Jetpack use, and we'll just put in all the options for it on this one. And then the same thing for the off. I'm just going to say that when you let go of the button, instead of, like you could actually do it where the flame gets less and less, but we're just going to say it turns off when you stop using it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and fill out those animations for both of those states. And then the last part of the animations that we'll use though on the item animations is the pick up and put down. You can be specific with it. We can say that's going to be the Jetpack idle for all 4 of those. There we go. So this will give us our basic setup for this part, and then we'll have our other pieces for that part. So the animations are finished off now. We've just put in the Jetpack use for all the on, and then the Jetpack off for all the off states. Alright, so that'll get us through all of our animations. If you have audio assigned as well, or if you have audio clips, then you can add them through here. So the last things we're going to look at is going to be the Jetpack settings right here. And actually, let's make sure we kind of do this in a little bit of order. We have the carry use, the socket directions, everything's going to be default 0, 0. The item depth, we want this in front, so let's make sure we actually change these to the one state right here. So we'll move all of our directional to 1. The default for the item, we'll use the 8. Alright, and then the jetpack settings, the player doesn't fall when he collides above. Typically when you jump or you're in the air, if you hit something with your head, the player will fall from it. Well, we're saying that if the player is using a jetpack, that we want him to be able to actually glide across the top and not actually fall. Alright, you could say no to it though if you're wanting to make part of a gameplay is that the player can't hit things above them without losing control on the jetpack. The other side is that use only a single item animation. If you know that you only want one animation for the whole thing, then you can actually state it this way and it'll just automatically use that one image that we have. If we only had one. The auto fly on button press, meaning that you push once and then it doesn't actually stop until you push the button again. So you can just tap it, it'll start flying. Direction based is that if you are going for left or right, it'll be actually adding to the direction you're going. Alright, and again, definitely encourage you to use all of these. Be in Build a Game, test them out, turn them on, turn them off, get a feeling for it so you know what your default value you want to use is. The height, for default, usually I have this turned off, and for a specific game you may want to use it, which is pretty fun because what it does is say how high can it fly based on what's below it. So if you say a height limit of 10, it can only fly up one tile and it'll stop in terms of the height. Speeds are all going to be set value based on how much you want to have increased and decreased on when it's turning on and turning off. So if you want the value to increase on the Y going up by 10, then you set it for that. You have a max limit of how much it's going to go up, but the quicker you increase it, the quicker it's going to go to the max speed. The decrease amount, if you want it to fall really slow, then you could actually set it for a really low value, like a 1 value, and it would just very slowly start to decrease until it got down to that amount. And then again, min limit, max limit. So what do you want those to be? We can actually say the min is 0 so that the player can't actually go to a stopping point with it. Alright, fuel amounts. Pretty self-explanatory, but fuel, if you use it, then you have an amount of time you can use it during your initial, like when you push the button and it starts counting, it'll have a fuel time consumption, and the fuel time is basically time, so this would say that you have 1 second to use it, and then it'll actually stop the fuel, which means your jetpack would actually start falling back down. You can have unlimited uses, so that every time you push it, you continue to use it. But you can also set it so that there's only a repeat value and it would be unlimited use, but just for a certain amount of time on it. Alright, and then the animations and audio. Alright, so that's going to cover all the parts for the jetpack and get you set up for the default values with it.